Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Last First Date Radio, featuring interviews with experts in dating, relating, and mating in midlife. And now, here's your host, Sandy Weiner.
Hello, everybody. This is Sandy, and welcome to Last First Date Radio, the place to be for creating healthy, lasting relationships in midlife. Today, I will be speaking with author, radio personality, and relationship coach Aaron Jordan Jr. about how to establish a strong foundation for a relationship. In my 10 years as a life and dating coach, what I know for sure is that if you identify and heal any unhealthy patterns from your past, if you honor and value all the parts of yourself, especially the parts that people told you were too much or not enough, you are going to transform your life and your love life. And if you're a woman, you are going to become the woman of value who attracts in toe-curling epic love. Every week I bring you a tip on how to become that woman of value, and today's tip is step number 12, which is to be playful. One of the things that people forget often is the value of play and fun. I always do an assessment when I first start working with a client, and we do a wheel of life as part of our assessment. And it's divided into 8 different sections of your life, and one of them is fun and recreation. And so if you're not having fun, and I'm talking about on a daily basis, like if you're not laughing, if you're not playful, you're basically first of all, you're missing out on a lot, and you're living life taking it way too seriously. And when people are playful and can laugh easily, they really attract in and magnetize the right people into their lives. So think about one thing you can do today to be more playful and have more fun in your life. And if you are not already a member of my private Facebook group, Your Last First Date, I invite you to please join us. The conversation is positive, supportive, and always interesting. It's a heavily moderated group. I have 7 group monitors. They are on top of that page all day long, and I am there whenever I can be. I do live videos from there that are only exclusive to that group. So I really highly advise you to join Your Last First Date. And now for my special guest today, Aaron Jordan Jr. He is known to many as Mr. Know Your Worth. He is an award-winning author, radio personality. He's a speaker, a relationship coach, and a philanthropist. He's the founder and host of the Nashville-based Know Your Worth radio show, and he's the author of The Power Within, A Woman's Worth from Both Sexes. Jordan's the founder of the Know Your Worth Women's Relationship Conference in Nashville and the Know Your Worth Relationship Empowerment Summit in Atlanta. I would love to be part of that summit. He has been featured on CBS, ABC, Talk of the Town, Atlanta Live, and MyTV30, and he was named a 2017 Nashville Black 40 Under 40. Join me now for episode number 301, The Key to Establishing a Strong Foundation for a Relationship. Welcome to the show, Aaron.
I appreciate you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. You've got quite a resume there, and I would love to. I'm pretty impressed. My whole new direction in my company is to establish the website, The Woman of Value, which is really about helping women value themselves. So as I'm reading this, I'm like, yes, the importance of knowing your worth and being empowered. Oh, my God, we have to talk after the show.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
So let's talk first about you. I always like to know how you came to do the work you do. So what led you to become Mr. Know Your Worth?
Well, a lot of times people don't understand that, like, your purpose or your calling can be forged from that dark space that you're in. About 10 to 12 years ago, I was in that space. I was in that very dark space mentally, spiritually, and I was emotionally broken too as well. But the thing that happened is, instead of me facing my emotional emptiness or my mental emptiness, I projected all of my pain onto other people. meaning that instead of me facing turn around facing the person in the mirror, I was blaming others for my issues, my hardships, and things of that nature. And I love telling my story. I love talking about my story, and I love just using myself as an example because a lot of people can relate. I was engaged 3 times. I bought 3 rings, and I was engaged 3 times. It was all in an 18-month period. And a lot of times when I say that, people, they look at me and they say, like, come on, Aaron. You got to be kidding me. But no, that's true. And the space I was in mentally, just by me saying that, you can understand where I was mentally. I was one of those guys that I would literally tell you, a woman, anything that she needed to hear for me to get anything that I want. And so it's basically like you're playing that whole mind game. Well, I say crap or whatever, but just being able to admit that and being able to come face to face with and being able to deal with those issues, because there's one thing in this universe that will always knock a person in his tracks, and it's called karma. Anything that you put out in the world or in the universe, you have to receive it back, whether it's negative energy or whether it's positive energy. And everything that I dished out, every pain that I caused, every negative thing that I did in my personal development or in relationships or causing pain, I had to receive it back. And in me being a recipient of that, it caused me to fall into a depression. It caused me to not love myself. It caused me to view myself as inadequate to sustain. And then in that, I almost committed suicide twice. And so people don't understand the word love or I love you. And it's a very powerful thing. And when you're at a point of wanting to receive love, and you've dished out so much negativity in the universe, you're going to have to receive, you have to get all that karma back. So birth from that came the person that you see today, a person that has gone through the trials and tribulations and learned through the fire on how to deal with pain, on how to cope with loving, getting back to the point of loving yourself and understanding who you are, whose you are, and what you are when it comes to self-love, motivation, and just in your faith and things of that nature.
Wow. That's some story. Well, thank you for sharing that. And
No problem
I can totally relate to learning through pain and through darkness. I think that's usually the best way to learn, and it's a painful lesson, but it's a great lesson. It's a lasting lesson.
Definitely it is.
Yeah. So you talked a little bit about some of the things that you did to know your worth, and I know that self-love and self-worth is a big foundation for having a healthy relationship. So can you speak a little bit about some of the mistakes that couples make? I do want to know more about your process to really getting stronger in your self-worth, but let's talk about some of the common mistakes, or maybe let's go first to what you did to start to rebuild self-worth, because I think that's on my mind.
Oh yeah.
So what are some of the steps?
One of the things I did is that it was, and most people would call it a come to Jesus moment, but it was just one of those moments. And it's true what they say: when you're tired of being sick and tired, then you're going to do things differently to bring out different results. But if you're not, you're going to keep doing the same thing over and over again, and you're going to be expecting different results. They say that's the definition of insanity. So
correct.
One thing that I did is that I got to the point where I had to stop running from my past issues. And my past issues, it wasn't anything dealing with the relationships I were in, but it was dealing with childhood things. See, one thing that people don't understand is that what you learn in your childhood or what you deal in your childhood, and if you haven't dealt with those, it's going to follow into your adult years. And so those things have a bearing or have influence on your decision making into your adult years. So the first thing I did was I got to the point where I could actually face some of the things the traumatic stuff that I've dealt with in my childhood. It's like you're sitting at a table with all of your enemies, and it's like now you're taking them head on. Like, who's next? Who's first? Or who's coming next? Or something like that. So once you build up the courage to come to face with your issues, you have to take ownership. Once you take ownership of the things that you've gone through, or your hurt, or taking ownership of what you've become, you'll be able to deal with it properly. You'll be able to process it better instead of running from it. Because one of the things that'll happen is that we use these learned behaviors, what I call it, to use other people to mask our hurt. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
We use other people
being a
to mask
victim
our
and
hurt.
blaming other people for our pain.
Exactly. So, like in relationships, in dating, a lot of people, instead of dealing with the pain and dealing with the hurt before moving on to another relationship, they actually use that other person to mask the hurt that they've received in prior relationships. So you're doing a temporary fix for a permanent scar.
Mhm. Got it. So you took responsibility, you looked at your childhood, you dealt with those issues, and you stopped being a victim and you became a victor.
And you took taking ownership, which leads you to victory. Once you can take ownership of your pain, because a lot of times when we're in this space, we don't take ownership of it. We let that pain dilute us. We let that hold us captive. We let that hold us back. And when you can take ownership of it, that's the first step in the process, and being able to release yourself of all of your emotional pain. Because if you take ownership of it, now you grab the pain by the neck and say, you will not hold me captive.
Mhm. Right. That's very freeing.
Wow.
Beautiful. All right. So, yeah, it is a complex process, but this is definitely an important step to start with. Deal with it. Go back to childhood, because childhood is where it all begins. And every time I work with a new client, we always look at childhood patterns and what got created back then, because we date partners who remind us of our childhood family of origin over and over again until we really deal with this.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about the common mistakes that couples make when they're searching for a strong relationship. What are some of the common mistakes that you see?
Well, one of the things that I usually see, and I get this a lot, is that a lot of people mistake a lonely season for that being just lonely. A lot of times when you're single for a long period of time, that means that's your season to get to know you. Because the thing is, you have to understand that in order to be in a successful relationship or attract a successful relationship, you have to first be mentally ready. Because you and me probably can agree on this. It's a lot of work. You know what I'm saying? In relationships and in marriage. So you have to be mentally prepared. And if you're not mentally prepared for that relationship, you're going to all of your relationships are going to end the exact same way. How I know is because it happened to me. All of my relationships before I got married ended the exact same way. But the only difference is that it was with a different woman, because I wasn't ready to take ownership of my hurt. I wasn't ready to stand face to face with the pain that I was causing in the relationship. So the thing is that if you don't take ownership, you're going to fall into what I call, like I stated before, learned behaviors. You're going to continue to use others to get over the next person. And what that does is that it basically you're becoming an emotional schizophrenic is what I call it, because now you're dealing with emotions on top of emotions on top of emotions, because every relationship that you get in, you're going to take a piece of that person with you. So you have to go through the proper channels to release yourself of that. And so that's really number one that I get for like emails that I get, or how do I get over this person, or I start dating this person right after I got out of this particular relationship. I hate being lonely and things like that. It's not you being lonely. You just have to go through that season of replenishment, if I must say. And a lot of people just skip that step because they hate being by themselves. That's the point for you to get back to making love to you, appreciating you, because if you appreciate you, it's going to exude from you, and you're going to attract somebody that can actually appreciate you just the same as you appreciating yourself.
Yes, so true. So let's talk about self-worth now for a moment, because you're getting into that a little bit. So talk a little bit about our self-worth and how it influences attracting in the right person.
Well, I always believe in the law of attraction. The law of attraction is a powerful thing. What most people don't understand is that relationships are more spiritual than it is physical, because the thing is that whatever energy you give off, that's what you're going to attract back to you. So if you haven't, I wouldn't say mastered, if you haven't gotten to the point of appreciating yourself and appreciating who you are, and what you are in this space, and you're constantly just thinking about the hurt, thinking about the pain, thinking about, just say, the breakup that you had 3 years ago and how that breakup ended. The everything that you're thinking about, everything that's dominating your thoughts in that moment is what you're going to attract back into your life. Meaning that you're going to attract all of that pain, all of that hurt, and what's going to happen is it's going to be presented in a form of a person, and that person is going to be dressed up differently. That's harboring all of the pain, that's all of the hurt that you're letting dominate your thoughts. And then when you get together, it's two hurt people or two broken people that's together. And then now you have two broken people trying to heal each other. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
And so what happens is that causes a roller coaster. Now you're on this never-ending cycle of dealing with somebody's emotions on top of your emotions. Now you don't want to be in the relationship anymore because their problems are weighing you down, because now you have more problems that you have to deal with now. So it's a never-ending cycle. So in order to get off of that cycle, or what most say in business, the rat race, you have to get to the point of appreciating you. And whatever that means to you, you have to get back to the point of being able to take yourself out, buy yourself out. One thing that I did is that, and most would laugh at this, is that I actually ordered something online, and I actually had it mailed to my house. And when I got the gift, in the card it said, "You are valuable, you are worthy, you are great." Those positive affirmations of something that was sent to me really uplifted my spirits, because instead of me expecting something from somebody else or expecting a gift from somebody else, I sent it to me, saying that, okay, you are valuable, you are powerful, you are great, you are bold, you are beautiful. So if you can do that for yourself and appreciate yourself in that regard, then you'll attract. It's like doing something different to attract different results, basically. Because you keep on doing the old, you're gonna attract the old. You can't go into your new season doing the old things that you did in your old season. Just like a construction worker, they can't build a stable building or a new foundation with old materials.
That is true. That is true, and I think that you see so many beautiful people. I look in, all the people in my Facebook group. We have about 2,300 women in there who are single.
Yeah.
Most of them are single. And, and I see beautiful faces, people who are successful, who have so much going for them, and they struggle so much in love. And there's a guardedness and a bitterness in so many people. How they feel about men, it's all the negativity, and so my whole goal in this group is to really make people more positive, to really
Yeah.
see that what they're doing is sabotaging their own process. And once they go through that, it's amazing how things start to turn around. They stop making assumptions. They stop looking at the worst possible scenario and just making up stuff and judging.
Wow.
So that's a whole sabotage thing. So what are some other ways that you have seen singles sabotaging the dating process?
And funny you should mention about sabotage. 'Cause I have in a chapter in my book, it talks about the sabotage effect. You know, and and everything that I talk about always reverts back to the law of attraction. And I'll use myself as an example. When you think that you're over a person, or when you think that you've surpassed that stage in your life where you can go into your new season, the universe always tests you. It always sends something to test you or distract you, and that distraction can be the person that you thought you were over. You know, just seeing how you can cope with being in the presence of that person. It happens every time. And one time when I was I thought that I was ready, I was moved on and things like that. I actually came face to face with my distractions, and I was not prepared at all. Because the thing is, what happens is that if you feel that you are ready, you're going to be presented with that test, whatever that test may be. But it's going to present itself to you, and it's going to hit you smack dab in the face. So I just wanted to say that because you mentioned about the sabotage effect, and I talk about that too in my book too as well. But one thing that I think that a lot of couples or singles do is they have 3 people involved in their relationship when it should only be 2 plus your spiritual connector too as well. That can be a person that's a best friend that's feeding you so much information or stuff like that. It should only be in your relationship or a person that's adding value to your life too as well.
So feeding like negative information or the wrong kind of information?
I'll give you an example. In this movie that I just saw, me and my wife, we went and saw it. It explained this concept so greatly. Okay, so this guy, he was married to this woman, and the guy he's been 18 years in the marriage trying to produce forth his dream, but all the while the wife's sisters were in her ear the whole time for the last 20 years saying, you need to leave him. He's no good. He's not helping you. He's not doing this. He's not doing that. And so when it came to the point where he finally had his breakthrough, the wife left him because her sister came and said that, like, okay, well, he is cheating on you with so-and-so, so-and-so. Here's the proof. I found the ID in the folder in the car. But in retrospect, he was not. He actually had a meeting with the person at the company where she worked, and she was his connecting source. But I said that to say is that when you listen to people, certain people about your relationship, you can make a hasty decision that will cause you a big loss.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, when people start working with me, I always tell them, don't listen to your family members, don't listen to your friends. They don't give you. They think they're giving you good advice because they're trying to protect you. But often they're just looking out for what they think is your best interest, and they don't really know what is. So I think that's really smart, Any other ways that people are sabotaging the dating process?
Well, far as there are a plethora of ways, and you and I both know, being in this space, you hear so many stories, but those 2 right there are really at the top of my list of what I get from clients or what I get from people that are just looking for advice is that they're tired of being alone, and they settle. Well, settlement can be another one because you're so tired of being lonely or being without someone, you just settle for whatever, and that causes you to throw off your whole purpose and your calling too as well. So those 2 things would be at the top of my list as far as with what I get and what I receive on my end as far as from clients or people that are just needing advice.
Those are very good points. Thank you. All right, so for our final question, let's talk about the topic of our show today, which all of this is feeding into, but what are some of those key steps to establishing a strong foundation for a relationship?
Well, if you're single, one of the first steps I will say is make sure you're mentally ready first for a relationship. For a successful relationship, because you have to be mentally prepared for that too as well, and then also make sure that that far as everything that's that's happening in your life, you take ownership of it, because you don't want to get into a relationship and also start projecting your pain onto your partner too as well. And because that right there, that can end your relationship faster than you can get in it too as well, by projecting your pain onto your partner too as well. And so also making sure that you're one with yourself, because a lot of times people, they get into these relationships expecting the person in the relationship to make them 100%. And I'm gonna say that one more time. A lot of people get into relationships expecting the person that they're in the relationship with to make them whole or make them 100%, when there's a lot of work that you must do with yourself first before committing to a person too as well.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Good advice, yes. Don't expect somebody to make you whole.
Exactly.
That whole complete you thing.
Exactly. The only thing that a person can do is add to your happiness. So if a person does not add to your happiness or add to you being complete, if a person cannot take you from 100 to 150, then there's some unbalance there, because now it's like their projected pain is going to be weighing you down, and you don't want that.
Very true. What are some of the other keys? Let's say people are already coupled and they want to make sure they have a strong foundation, besides coming with a fullness, taking ownership, really putting your pain in the past, really making peace with who you are. Is there anything else?
Yeah, as far as with couples, I think, and this is for my men, and I get a lot of emails from men too as well. I think one of the biggest things that we have to deal with when we get into a relationship is putting our ego aside, because a lot of times, based on how we as men are raised, we're raised not to show our emotion, not to be vulnerable, not to show any sign of vulnerability. I think one thing is putting our ego aside and allowing ourselves to be vulnerable with our partner, allowing our emotions to show, because what you will find is that will open up a whole different aspect of your relationship, because now your partner, your woman, she will actually see a totally different side of you that she can relate to, because the thing is, women are nurturers by nature. And so the thing with my wife, she's the biggest thing about my wife, she's a nurturer. And any problems or stress I have, I can talk to my wife about it, and she can bring me back down to earth and calm me down and basically just ease my mind in that sense too as well. So one thing with men, I think, is just putting our egos aside, letting our vulnerability show, letting our emotions show, and then also letting our leadership show as well, because we can't expect women to, I wouldn't say be submissive, but to follow our leadership if we don't have a vision in place. Does that make sense?
I think this is really missing from so many men today. No, I'm serious. I'm out there dating again after my divorce, and I see a lot of people who are confused in the dating world. A lot of men are afraid to really stand up and be leaders. They're afraid to put women off, because a lot of women are leaders today, and we're living in a little bit of a confusing time. So I think that when men step into leadership, but they're also able to be vulnerable, that's like the perfect combination that is so appealing to a strong woman who also shows her vulnerability. Yeah, these are beautiful keys to a healthy, lasting foundation of a relationship. So, Aaron, if you can tell our listeners where they can find you, get your book, let us know.
Yeah, you can find me. I'm all across social media. On Facebook, you can follow me at facebook.com/author Aaron Jordan Jr. And also, I'm on Instagram. I'm always on Instagram. They say that's where young people are, so that's where I am. And I'm trying to. My daughter, she tells me all the time, "So, Dad, you're getting old." So I try to. So on Instagram, you can just type in Mr. Know Your Worth. My Instagram page will pop up, and then also just on Google, you can just Google Mr. Know Your Worth. All of my information will pop up. If you're interested in getting a copy of my book too as well, you can go to aaronjordanjr.com/shop. Too as well, and all the information is there. All the information about me with my books, and also for anyone that actually purchased my book too as well, and send me their information where I can actually get it mailed out to you. I'll send you an autographed copy, and then I'll also send you a free Know Your Worth T-shirt as well.
Oh, beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Aaron, for coming on the show, for doing this important work out in the world, helping people have solid, lasting relationships. Thank you.
Yes, man. I appreciate you for having me on, too, as well.
My pleasure. And thanks, everyone, for listening today. And I hope that you all go on your last first date very soon. Have a great day.